Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the Deathstalker M46 Patton. Now, before we start, obviously the stats of this and any other vehicle to compare it to are correct at the time of making this video. A bit of something. This is actually the second recording of this garage review. The first one you will see. It basically devolved into a bit of a rant about sort of reskins and well, start off with this tank and then reskins, whatever in general. And I ended up deciding to re-record it because I didn't actually review anything, but I am going to let you guys see that. I'm going to upload it shortly after this video as a separate video on its own because one, I think you might find it amusing, and two, because I think, you know, I would hope that I do raise at least a couple of good points as well. So yeah, that will be on there. So I'm not going to... Obviously, this is a reskin. It is. There are a couple of very, very minor differences between this and the 46 Patton KR. But they are very minor differences, so yeah, this is a reskin and almost just a direct reskin. So I'm not going to get into that. The reason I've redone it is because, like I said, I didn't really review anything, and I just thought, no, you know, let's keep it a bit more professional. Let's just keep it about the tank. We know it's a reskin, so I'm just going to talk about the tank itself, ignoring that fact. My thoughts and opinions on it being a reskin, obviously, are going to be in that other video, which, as I said, will be uploaded shortly after this one. So let's just get straight onto it. So yeah, it is very, very similar to the Patton KR. So if you own the Patton KR, not many people do, but if you do own that one, obviously this is not worth it. And the other thing is that a lot of people thought the Patton KR was crap, and I think that's been a little bit unfair to it. I think it's an alright tank. It's a good all-round sort of medium. It doesn't really excel in particularly many places, apart from, you know, ridge lines. It really does. But I think its main problem and why people sort of were quite down on it is its gun. Its pen is pretty poor. It's, you know, it's alright firing on the move. 0.5 accuracy on the KR. This is 0.52, so it's not quite as good. One of the small changes they've made. But yeah, I mean, it very, very closely resembles the Pershing, a little bit quicker. This has got a smaller engine than the KR as well. It's another change. But yeah, I think it did get a bit of a bad rap. It wasn't, like I say, I wouldn't have called it a crap tank. I just think it's a bit, I don't know if outdated is the right word, with power creep that's come in with various things getting buffs and armour getting a bit thicker here and there, and especially premiums coming in recently that have had much more than 192mm of pen to see tier 10 with. I think that it's the gun that's a bit lackluster. Or the pen is a bit lackluster. The gun is fine, it's 90mm. Lots of things see tier 10 with 90mm. But yeah, it's the pen. The pen definitely needed buffing, and it's probably, yeah, they left it alone. But anyway, as I said, my thoughts and feelings on it being a reskin and everything else will be in that other video, so I'm just going to go on about the tank itself. I'll go through a few stats now. I will sort of highlight the few changes that sort of appeared. Like I say, there's not many. Engine power is 1. This has 704 instead of, I think, 810 on the KR. I don't have a KR to compare it to. This is the press account. So I don't have one on here to compare it to. That's one of the tanks that isn't in here. I will add it to the account probably, you know, if it gets added back into the store, but anyway. 90mm gun, 8.3 rounds a minute, which is increased from the 7.4 that the KR gets, okay, which is nice. Rate of fire increase is always welcome. Excuse me while I have a bit of coffee, my throat's going a bit funny. So yeah, rate of fire increase, always welcome. Not a bad change, but it's the pen that's the real issue, and again, you know, it's almost like I'm complaining about the rate of fire increase. I'm not. I just think it's an odd change to make. They're both 46 Pattons, both of them, and you know, in one respect, I can see why they've changed it, so they can say it's not just a port, but why not just give it a different skin and do it cheaper? Maybe, you know, if you're going to release another 46 Patton. I mean, to be honest, perfectly honest, I don't understand why they did it as a 46 Patton. I really don't. I think they should have chosen something else, considering they did build up a bit of a sort of air of mystery around it, and then they revealed that it was just a 46 Patton, and it was like, oh, well, yeah, now I'm disappointed. Yeah, increased rate of fire, nearly a round extra a minute. You get a decreased aiming time on this, 2.3 seconds as opposed to 2.5. Accuracy is the same at 0.38, and obviously penetration on everything and damage is the same. 192 for your standard rounds, 243 for your premium, 45 for your armor piercing. You do get a reduced hull traverse as well, at 33 degrees a second as opposed to 38, which again is a bit unusual, bit of an odd change. Armor-wise is the same, turret traverse is the same, view range I believe is the same, which is actually 10 meters less than a Pershing. Don't forget, obviously you've got the Pershing at tier 8 and the tech tree. Performance-wise, with a lot of this really is very similar to the Pershing, but again, increased rate of fire. So, not much different then, as I said before. Slight increase in the rate of fire, slightly improved aiming time, reduced engine size and therefore power to weight ratio, and a reduced hull traverse for some reason. So, very odd changes again. Very, very unusual choice for the changes. And again, very odd. You know, shell-wise, price-wise, 255, 44, you know, 4400 and 255. Same price as, you know, your others and everything. There's no difference there. And that's it really. Something else that I keep forgetting to mention are things like what you can upgrade on it, not upgrade, customize on it, should I say. And I believe with this, I think it's everything apart from camouflage. Yeah, it is. There you go. Everything apart from camo. So inscriptions and emblems you can put on. It is only one emblem, if I remember rightly, and I think it might only be one inscription slot, but I could be wrong on that one. But I'm pretty sure it's only one emblem. Equipment-wise, I've gone for a very standard sort of medium tank setup, vertical stabilizer, gun rammer, and coated optics. It isn't bad at firing on the move. It can be a bit frustrating. The KR is better. That has 0.5 accuracy on the move. This has 0.52, so it's not quite as good there either. So again, it just really odd, unusual, and it's almost like, it almost feels like, I mean, apart from the fire rate, it feels like they took the Pershing, took the Patton KR, and just split the difference with the stats, because it does kind of sit in the middle, especially, you know, with the power to weight ratio. It has the same size engine as a Pershing, but it's apparently 2 tons lighter. So, you know, as you can see, the Pershing has a longer 90mm, so that a couple of feet they've taken off the barrel there must have been very, very heavy and dense, and must have been the 2 tons. Sorry, been a bit facetious there. But anyway, so yeah, it is 2 tons lighter, so it does have a slightly higher power to weight ratio than a Pershing, but not as good as the KR. And again, it just odd changes. So, going on about the tank itself again, trying to sort of skip past all these. The power to weight ratio is 17.57. If I remember rightly on the career, the KR, it's around 18.6, I think. That is from memory. I'm pretty sure it's that. I know it's about 18.5 roughly. I think it's about 18.6 horsepower per ton. The KR also has, negligible I know, but it's again a weird difference. Has a top speed of 48.3 kilometers an hour. This is 48. Apart from that, pretty much the same. Concealment, I believe, is the same, although I will try and check that in a moment for you. 0.26 stationary, 0.21 on the move, so not a big difference between stationary and moving. Again, like the Pershing, like the KR, very good on ridge lines with minus 10 degrees of gun depression. It has 22 of elevation, so again, nothing, you know, it's not really an issue if anything gets above you. Accuracy can leave a little bit to be desired. Sorry. In fact, in the original article, it was actually issued at 0.36 accuracy. That changed, and it got put to 0.38. Accuracy on the move, as I mentioned before, 0.52, ain't bad. The KR is better at 0.5 though. Accuracy on rotating the turret 1.04. Shell velocity is something I'll try and include as well, which I do sometimes forget. Your reload time is obviously better at 7.2 seconds, which is, I think the KR is 8.1. But again, that's just from memory, and that's without any equipment or anything else. Terrain resistances. Apart from the last one, are the same as the KR at 1.3, 1.5, and these are 2.9. The KR has 2.5 again, if I remember rightly, if memory serves me correctly. Turret on top. Radio is in the bustle, same as it is on that one. I mean, the layout-wise is the same. I mean, it is the same tank. You know, I can't emphasise that enough. They've just made a few very minor and odd stat changes. The crew are in the same place as well. Shell velocity. 853 for your standard armor piercing, and just over 1,000 for your APCR, which does feel a little bit slow from that, but I think that, Yeah, I'm not going to say that could be average for the tier. I'm just trying to think back to... It's not something I normally look at, to be fair, to shell velocity, but I'm trying to think back to some of the others that have come out recently, and I think that might be middling for the sort of tier anyway, so... But anyway, there you go. Something I'm going to have to look at a bit more, the shell velocity. Crew-wise, again, same position, driver and hull machine gunner down in the front. Loader, gunner, loader, gunner and commando up in the turret there. Armour-wise, again, same sort of layout. I don't really need to spend too much time on here. I'll give you the basic figures. It's stats, by the way, for its bonuses. 57% silver and 15% on the XP bonus. Again, same as the career. So it does kind of say to me, you know, why does this tank even exist? Why didn't you do something different or special? Or I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So armour-wise, 102 on the front of the hull, 76 on the side, 51 on the rear, and then 127 for the turret on the front, and then 76 sides and rear. And again, it's a bit of a hodgepodge. Different thicknesses on the side of the tank as you get on the Pershing, you get on the 46 Patton as well, and I think you do on the tier 9 actual tech tree Patton. But that's one I've not got to just yet. You do have that thicker strip on the gun mantle, which is typical of these tanks, which is actually 203 if you look. It says 13 to 203 mil overall. So yeah, that thick strip on the gun mantle is 203 millimeters, and can give people a bit of a surprise that they're still sort of unfamiliar with it, or you know, don't come up against these very often. So you would be tempted, with it only having 127 mil on the front, to go straight for the front of the turret. Don't. Go for the commander's hatch if you've only got the turret. That's where you want to be going for, or just to the sides, the turret cheeks if you can get them. But the commander's hatch is possibly a safer bet. If you are struggling to get through the hull, I don't, you know, if you're a lower tier, you probably would. Higher tiers, equal tiers, generally don't struggle to get through the hull of these. But if you are, the machine gun port is a weak spot on the front as well as the lower glacis. So if you are a lower tier, you're struggling to get through that upper glacis, go for that machine gun port on the front. And I think that's really all I want to say about it in the garage. As I said before, you know, I'm not going on about it. You know, I'm just going to try and treat it, the stats of the tank itself, treat it as a sort of separate individual. My thoughts and everything else will be in that other video for you. So yeah, let's just get into the replay and see it in action. So here we are for the first of the replays. They're both tier 8 matches, I think. I'm pretty sure they are. The first one I'm platooned with my lovely wife. She unfortunately doesn't have a particularly good match in this one, particularly good round. So yeah, talk a little bit about the tank, and you know, this is some of the stuff that I think I raised in that sort of bit of a ranty video that I'm going to upload, and it's not what I call a crap tank. As I said before, you know, it's got it's got some nice features for a medium. Its mobility is quite nice, even though it's got that reduced engine power. And you know, I'm not comparing this to anything else, but the Korea, the KR, I don't know if that's ever come. I don't know if that's coming back on sale. I couldn't tell you, but like I say, some people really don't like the look of that one. If you don't like the look of that and you want an alternative, you know, this is it. But as I said, you know, I'm still not quite sure why it exists or why they chose to do another pattern. But the tank itself, taking everything else out of the equation, you know, the reskin, you know, the fact that we've already got the KR and everything else, isn't bad. It's not bad. Its mobility is quite nice. Its turret, you know, admittedly most of it is weak, but it's got a nice strip across the front. Its gun depression is quite nice as well. Well, really nice gun depression. I think quite nice is a bit of an understatement. -10, you know, that's really nice. So yeah, it's got its gun depression, and I think the main problem with the 46 Patton. Sorry, no, that's not quite right, because obviously it's the tech tree one. The main problem with the Patton KR and the Deathstalker, both of them, is that penetration. And this is the thing. Now, 192 pen in a tier 8 match is fine. There's not much that you would struggle to pen at some part of them, you know, either a weak spot, whatever, with that, and you know, you've always got your premium to fall back on if need be. So yeah, it's fine. And the tank, when it's in a tier 8 match, these are a couple more sort of average games I've had it, but I've had some pretty nice games in it in tier 8 matches, and that's the sort of important bit in tier 8 matches. And in tier 9 matches, and it's not just, I mean, there are tanks at tier 9 that this can pen with 192, that's fine, but you seem to, or I feel, I don't know if I'm right or if it's just me or whatever, I feel that I don't see those tanks very often in tier 9 matches. People don't seem to be playing them, seem to be playing the sort of more heavily armed stuff a lot of the time, not all the time, but that seems to be the majority of what I see, is the more heavily armoured stuff, which this can struggle against. And in tier 9 matches, that 192 pen is a bit of a liability, it can be. Not always, but it can be. But it's still workable in tier 9s, because it's still got, you know, alright mobility, it's still got that good gun depression, so if the worst comes to the worst and you are a lot further forward than you want to be, a lot closer to the enemy, I mean, as long as you can find a ridge line, you can work it, you might get away with it, you might not, depends. You're not going to be able to sit there, because you've only got 127mm on the front of your turret, and, you know, even that thicker strip is only 203. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be able to pen you. But you can pop back and forth on the ridgeline, whatever. You know, there are ways of doing it and whatever, and it's definitely workable in a tier 9. It's harder than it is tier 8, you know, understandably, you know, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, it's workable. Tier 10, it's just awful. It just feels horrible. Again, you kind of feel like you're there for cannon fodder. There's a lot of stuff that you just feel that you can't pen, or you're going to struggle to pen, or you're going to have to aim for a weak spot, and you can't aim for the weak spot. And again, this is something else that I think I raised with regards to other tanks about corridorized maps. You know, it'd be alright because it would have the mobility to flank a bit more, but it's getting around the flank on a lot of the maps. It's impossible to do, and it's just how it is. So yeah, I don't know. Going on, like I said before, comparing this to the recent premiums and things that we've seen introduced, the pen that they've had, and what have you, I would have expected this to be a preferential matchmaking tank. I really would. Going by everything else in game, ignoring the premiums we've had for the last few months and what have you, then, you know, it's kind of understandable, but it does kind of feel a bit... Yeah, that was a bit of a crappy... yeah, really should have aimed that on the first one. Yeah, it does feel a bit... I don't know. I suppose the right word could be antiquated in World of Tanks terms, if you see what I mean. It kind of feels like a... And again, this is the same similar sort of thing with the KR. I mean, the KR, like I say, you know, decent enough tank, just feels a bit antiquated in terms of some of its sort of specs and performance-wise. Within the game, within World of Tanks, it kind of feels like a premium that we would have seen a couple of years ago. You know, I mean, like I said, you know, like I've said, I'm probably saying that a lot now. But yeah, I mean, you know, the King Dragon, that came in with 190 pen, 2 less than this. And everybody said that's not enough. That's not enough to see tier 10. You're expected to see tier 10 with only that pen. You can't do it. Everybody said that, and, you know, a couple of weeks later, Wargaming buffed it, gave it a different gun and gave it 200 pen. You know, and now it's quite competitive. It still struggles a bit in tier 10 occasionally, you know, because it's still 200 pen is still quite low for facing tier 10 stuff. But then again, you can't give it much more than that, because obviously it would be quite OP in its own tier then, with the sort of gun wise. But when you consider that there's the STA2, which is a tier 8 medium, I know it's got paper armour, but then again, generally anything above tier 8, this has got paper armour. Or it feels like it does anyway. You know, that's got preferential matchmaking. And what's that got now? Is that about 212 pen, I want to say? I could be wrong, might be a bit less than that. The Liberté, that's got more pen than this, and that's got preferential matchmaking. And that's, you know, both of those, the STA2, I know that got buffed more recently than its release, but it still was a while ago that got buffed. And the Liberté is an older premium now, and that's still got more pen than this and preferential matchmaking. And then we look at stuff that's been coming in recently. The Guardian, I mean, what's that? Was that 223, I want to say? I think, roughly. and you know, we've had some sort of 220s, 225s, etc. You know, that sort of thing, and you know, I've reviewed that many recently, that it is difficult to try and keep track of all this stuff, but you get what I'm saying, don't you? You get my drift. A lot of the premiums coming recently were a lot more pen than this, and this is tier 10, and then we get this, and it does kind of feel like an older premium, something that we would have had sort of before the Japanese heavies, for instance, when really there wouldn't have been a massive amount of stuff. And you know, I mean, it's like with this whole power creep effect as well, when things get changed and buffed here and there slightly, you know, and something might get turned into an HD model that ends up having slightly thicker armor, the profile might change by a mil or two here, or an angle there, or you know, whatever, which changes the effective thickness, etc, etc. And it sort of just then becomes, it kind of becomes really prevalent how much power creeps affected things when a tank like this comes out, which does feel like an old premium. And I mean, in some ways it is. I mean, the KR's not been out ages, but you know, that's essentially what this is. But yeah, I just feel that I definitely feel that its main letdown, and again, this is taking out the fact that it's just a clone of the KR with a couple of different stats, which in turn is just sort of a clone of a, you know, a mix of the Pershing and the Patton itself, which is understandable. The Patton was an upgrade of the Pershing. So yeah, taking all that into account, it is the pen that is its main problem, I would say. But still, I think the price as well is, I mean, it's, was it 10,000? I think the ultimate package is just over 10,000 gold. That's expensive. That is, you know, I mean, at one point, things like the Lerva and the IS-6 were like, you know, two of the most expensive premiums in the game. And they were around, you know, 11,000 gold, and then this comes out at, you know, I know you get a couple of bits with it, but not a lot. It's only 7 days of premium, and it comes out at just over 10,200. That is expensive for a tier 8 medium, with, I mean, what I'm going to call an underperforming gun. And it underperforms, and I know I keep coming back to that, but that is the issue with this, that pen. Damage wise is fine, rate of fire is fine, accuracy, as I said before, leaves a little to be desired sometimes. But yeah, definitely when you're trying to go up against stuff like Japanese super heavies, this thing struggles. I mean, as you saw, I mean, I know I'm a fair old distance from it, but I'd swapped premium ammo, and even then it wasn't guaranteed. Well, yeah, well, I mean, as you can see, I mean, I had a, you know, an alright game the last game. I think I came top, and this one turns out, you know, alright, but I don't know. Yeah, stupid mistake there, taking that damage. Seemed to take a hell of a lot of damage for that short little fall as well. I thought I got away with that, but yeah, I don't know. I think my just biggest question is why. You know, as I said, I don't think the Patton KR sold particularly well. If it did, it was probably because it was bundled up with another tank at the time. Which is it, the Scorpion G? And that's probably why most people own it. And yet they decide that's the one they want to reskin, not a popular one or one that sold really well or whatever. You know, might not be on sale for a good long time. So people who want it is this. But it does have good gun depression. I mean, I suppose that is its redeeming feature, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of just don't see the point. Why make it? Why? When you've already got the KR, it's the mind boggles. But I suppose if you want a sort of a premium Pershing, if you really love the Pershing and you want a premium version of it, this is the closest you're going to get to it performance wise. It does have that better, you know, better power to weight ratio than the standard Pershing, and obviously the better rate of fire. And I think that's, you know, that is a bit of a welcome addition. I think, to be honest, that the KR could have done with a rate of fire like this. I think it really should have done. I don't think it would have addressed the, obviously the main issue is still, bloody stupid thing taking off my health. Really messed that up. I think I just got fed up by this point in the game. But yeah, as I said, he won't address that main issue of the 192, but I suppose if it had a better thingy. But then again, well, they shouldn't have made this, but they couldn't have made it if the KR did have that rate of fire, I suppose. Very carefully over here so I don't kill myself. There we go. Let's see if I can't find Artie. I'm going to have to be careful. So, yeah, I mean, it is difficult with a review like this when it is so similar to another tank in game, and even that tank, wasn't great. But yeah, it is kind of tricky to do these reviews sometimes, just to think about what to say, apart from, which I've probably done this a lot, and I probably, realise I probably have done that. Just, this is the moment I realise I'm screwed. Messed that up. Apart from, it's the same as this, same as that, performs the same as this, and it just kind of feels like you're regurgitating what you said in the review for the last vehicle. So, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, the Deathstalker Disappointment 46 Patton. As I said, I mean, it's not a bad tank. 2800, you can't grumble at that, really. With 4 kills. If it was that crap, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But it does need a pen buff. The KR needs a pen buff. The Pershing needs a pen buff to deal with a lot of the stuff that's come in recently. If you can hear any noises in the background, by the way, I do apologise. I've forgotten to turn the chat off on the press account. I normally turn the chat volume right down, so it's like other people's microphones and stuff coming in. But yeah, there you go. Patton KR clone, the Deathstalker. Bit of an ironic name, I suppose. The only I suppose in Tier 8 you could almost claim that it's stalking people to kill them, but in most of the other matches, in Tier 9 and 10, it's definitely death that is stalking you in that tank. But there you go. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that one. As I said, keep an eye out for that sort of little ranty video. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but yeah, it should be uploaded shortly after this one. So take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.